Okay.
How many will this make? Two. Only two.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen,
Congratulations.
we'll begin this meeting of the Metro Fire Board of Directors. And we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Director Gould.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Gould. Metro Cable announcements. The open session meeting is videotaped for cablecast on Metro Cable 14, replayed on Saturday, October 12th, 2013 at 1 p.m. and Monday, October 14th, 2013 at 6 p.m. on Channel 14, webcast at sacmetrocable.tv. Open session meetings are also available for viewing on the district's website at metrofire.ca.gov. Public opportunity to discuss matters of public interest within the jurisdiction, including items on or not on the agenda. And Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
No, there are no speakers this evening.
Thank you. Moving on then to the action items. Item 1, the Reserve Firefighter Program.
Probably want to do consent.
Oh,
Mr.
I'm
Chair.
sorry, I missed consent agenda. Sure, we don't really need it. On the consent agenda, matters of routine approved, but not limited to board meeting synopsis, deposits reports, general ledger expense list, workers' compensation expense reports, payroll reports, referrals to issues to committees and other consent matters and ratified to committee or consent matters and ratified to district claims. Consent agenda is acted upon as one unit unless the board members request separate discussion items. We have any items listed under the consent agenda?
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, I have a quick question. I know that in our last action, that there was some discussion about the quorum and the size of the quorum, so on and so forth. And so I'm concerned about approving tonight's consent, which is functionally what was last meeting, and the fact that some of our actions were a 4-1. And so we may get a ruling before we approve this consent, which is virtually the decisions made last time, before we can move or table this consent for next meeting.
Yes, Director Orzali and Director Gould, under your board policies and procedures, you have to have 5 votes in order to pass any resolution or to take any action as a board. Therefore, you can vote upon the consent agenda and it will pass as an action of the board. If there's 5 members here who are able to vote to approve the summary of the board meeting of last week's board meeting. I don't have the roster here in front of me as to who attended, but if we can take the roll, and if there's 5 votes, then it will pass. If there isn't, it will have to be tabled until there's 5 votes to be able to vote on that item.
So I move we approve consent based on that interpretation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second from Director Gould and a second from Director Wood. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll.
Director Monk?
Aye.
Wood?
Aye.
Gould?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Pearson? Orzali?
Abstain.
You guys are killing me. Higher math.
That's what I was worried about.
Nice. Right. Good job. That helps.
All right, based upon that, there's not 5 votes to carry the action to approve the consent agenda, so it will have to be placed on another, the agenda for the next meeting.
Motion does not pass.
That was awesome.
moving on then to the action items. Moving then to item 1 of Reserve Firefighter Program.
Mr. President, Board of Directors, I'll go ahead and start off by making a few comments ahead of time. Forgive me for my voice. I've been down with a little bit of a bug here the last 24 hours. As you may or may not recall, the Reserve Firefighter Program currently exists in Metro today. We were down to approximately 5 or 6 members who are getting older. And I'm getting older, so if that's funny, let me see me after the meeting. In fact, I think I have pneumonia, but anyways. Of course, not you, Mr. President. You look like you're still 30. But
Yeah.
we brought a program to you during the budget. That was part of one of the goals, was to get the program back up and reinvigorated. So the money that you're going to vote on tonight for the program actually is incorporated into the budget. And what we intended to do was to bring this item to you really for information. And the action is basically to go ahead and authorize the background investigations, the expenditure of the money. I think I probably could have just gone forward with the item and done the hiring because it had already been approved. But I thought it was important, and staff thought it was important to, in expanding this program, bring it to the Board of Directors so that they could hear and ask questions about it, because it's a pretty detailed system that they're putting together. And but with that, at the conclusion of that, if you're comfortable with it, then we would move forward. They've vetted this thing 6 ways to Sunday, and I think they're going to continue to vet it as we build it. As you know, laws are changing consistently. They just signed a new minimum wage, and of course, we're looking at strictly volunteers here. So, you know, you're looking at different things that change, and so those nuances we will be consistently dealing with. So with that, I just wanted to let you know that this item was included in the budget, and with that, I would turn it over to Battalion Chief Mo Johnson.
Good evening. Directors, Chief Inky. My name is Maurice Johnson, Battalion Chief here, and also the Reserve Firefighter Program Coordinator. I bring before you a recommendation tonight to expand the Reserve Firefighter Program as well as removing the residency requirement. Here's a little background. Metro Fire operates 2 reserve fire stations. Station 112 located at 34th Street and Elkhorn, and Station 116 located at Elwyn and Alberta. There are currently 5 active reserve firefighters, with the last one being hired more than 14 years ago. 3 of our current reserve firefighters each have served more than 35 years. Both reserve fire stations are operated on an as-available mode, which is simply to say that when they have time available from their families and their full-time jobs, they respond out from their homes to the stations to pick up our support apparatus and respond to the incident. Eligibility for reserve firefighter positions are currently limited to the community within Alberta, west to the Sacramento city limit, north to the Placer County line, east through Rio Linda, North Highlands, Antelope to Interstate 80, and finally south to Interstate 80. Currently, reserve firefighter apparatus responds to incidents within the Rio Linda, Alberta communities, with the exception of the air unit, which is dispatched out and responds out to our entire jurisdiction. This rejuvenated, re-energized program really builds upon the solid foundation that has been laid by the current reserve program as well as our past fire cadet program. 24/7 coverage will be achieved to ensure that our support apparatus is there to support our line firefighters, the district, and the community. It's very important to point out that our reserve firefighters remain very dedicated and provide a very valuable service to our entire agency. We feel that these changes will not only provide additional support to Metro Fire's career firefighters, but will also create a new portal of entrance into the fire service. Metro Fire will provide new job training opportunities in the greater Sacramento region, increasing diversity and outreach. Working with the community partners such as junior colleges, the Regional Fire Academy, Armed Forces, the community groups, high schools, and Explore programs, Metro Fire can begin mentoring future employees while maintaining our high standards and expanding our future pool of firefighters. The proposed increase in reserve firefighters will have no impact on the number of currently authorized fire suppression personnel. Training for reserve firefighters will emulate the training of career firefighters. In fact, the large bulk of this training is going to be done by our on-duty crews today. Reserve firefighters will also rotate through the divisions within the agency. That's going to give them a good insight on the agency from the inside out, so they'll really be able to learn about Metro Fire. Reserve firefighter candidates will be required to pass a background check, a medical evaluation, and a psychological examination. Once approved for entrance into the program, the firefighters will need to be trained and equipped with personal protective clothing. The cost to expand the reserve firefighter program is approximately $187,703, with the bulk of that really contained in the background checks, the medical evaluations, and then the personal protective clothing. Staff recommends that the reserve firefighter program be expanded from the 5 to 25, and also removing the residency requirement. We're lucky enough to have 2 of our reserve firefighters who have been very dedicated to the agency here in the audience tonight. And if you have any questions, I will welcome them.
I'd just like to add a couple things to that. Whenever you say eliminate the residency requirement, elected officials go, well, I thought that was the whole goal here, was to draw from the Sacramento region, and it is. The problem is that the confines of that one area out there is a little difficult just to draw from that area to get your diversity. We have a 417 square mile district, and even when you reach into our 417 square mile district, you have challenges. So that's why we call it the Sacramento area region, and that's what we're looking at. And I know that Chief Clough briefed me yesterday that Director Gould has been working with the community colleges, I believe it's Sierra and
The high schools.
yeah, for articulation agreements, to be able to go into the high schools and be able to reach down into those students and bring them in and get them into the program. And really, at this point, I think what this does is open up a perfect opportunity to bring some of those kids from some of those tougher areas and tougher neighborhoods and get them interested into what we do and be able to bring them in and get them interested and hooked into the system when they turn 18, 19 years old. And then let the education catch up as it goes forward. So that's really what I wanted to kind of lay out, is that when we talk about residency, we're not talking about drawing from Vacaville or that far away. We're talking about drawing from our region, somewhat like the metro. You may draw a little bit from Yolo and Placer and El Dorado, which there could possibly be a reason to be drawing from El Dorado, which I'll talk about under my chief's remarks. So that's kind of expanding it, our scope, reaching out to those high schools and that. And I think we're going to have a really solid program, but we will grow it smartly. I don't think the direction is to go out and hire 20 people like that. I think we're looking at hiring 5 or 7 at a time and getting them in and building the program up so that it's solid. And with that, any questions you have?
Dave.
With the $2,000 training budget, I'm assuming that we're not going to have a full-time academy for these people. They're going to be brought on and then kind of like on-the-job training, or how are they going to be brought up to speed?
That is correct. Currently, there's a monthly meeting for all of the reserve firefighters. So that is done by our on-duty crews. So we're going to take that training piece, the academy module, we're going to break that down to their monthly meetings, and there could be some others, but all the training is going to be done by on-duty crews, so there'll be no expenses incurred.
Chief, do we have a demographic profile I'm talking about age of the candidates we're looking for, their educational background?
Sure. It's really going to be across the board, if you will. We want folks that are really going to be entry level, who don't really have much information with respect to the fire service, but they're going to be able to come into the agency, to the program, learn about the fire service, and decide if it's for them. As we move through, there's going to be educational milestones that they'll have to meet to continue in the program and ultimately be hired as a firefighter paramedic. So to answer your question shortly, yes, absolutely. They're going to be across the board, and they're going to be able to come in at different levels.
And what's the bottom level, the youngest person who would be eligible?
18 years of age.
Okay. All right.
And that would be 18 years of age with a high school diploma or GED. And then from there, we indoctrinate some of those. Now, understand, if you're hiring 20 new people, you're going to want to have a mixture of people at the different levels. But the goal here is to have this cadre of people that you can bring in at the lower end and train them from the bottom up.
Director Gould?
Thank you. So, Chief, one of the concerns I have about this is I now understand a little better this residency issue, particularly as you described how tight it was in the current model. My concern is moving outside of Sacramento County initially. I would rather see us start with just our county and see if we can fill the ranks and fill the roles. And then if we can't, then decide, as a matter of policy, to spend that money outside of our county. I am just a firm believer that if we open it up to Sacramento County, which gets us some pockets of individuals that we are looking for in this 416 or 460 square mile region, I think we adequately can fill that without moving outside the county. Now, if later on we figure out that we can, or there's other reasons to expand, I think we do it at that point. But today to do it, you know, this is a good chunk of change, and it seems to me like our initial focus should be capturing people within, one, our district. I would think that would be the first shot, and if we can't fill the ranks, then we move to the county, and if we still can't do it after we've done a good job of interacting with our high schools and all these other partners, then we look at going outside. My concern is spending tax dollars recruiting from outside of the community when we really don't know, because we haven't invited a bunch of people who might be interested after 6 months of knowing about it to come play in this organization, in this issue. And so I'd rather see us approve this tonight with a caveat of, let's start with the district, because that's my first concern. I want to see members of Citrus Heights, the Citrus Heights community, be given a fairer chance at getting in than somebody from El Dorado County. No disrespect to them, but they're not who I represent. And so I'd like to see us do that. And if truly we come back and say, we tried, we did our due diligence to the community and we can't fill the ranks, then I think this board can make a decision when we have people in the community come say, why are you going out to Yolo County or going to El Dorado? We can say it's because we tried put a lot of effort into finding people in the community. We could not do it, and we want to make this program go, and it may take us 2 or 3 more years to get that message in. But I think we start here and then expand out. So that's my feelings on this. One other issue, Chief, and it's probably ignorance on my part, I know it is. Tell me about this amount of money that we spend with these young people on PPE. Are we talking about full turnouts and those kinds of things? Because I'm looking at $91,000 for 25 individuals. You know, that's roughly $4,000, $3,800 and change per person. And yet it sounds to me like their ultimate function right now is to support, not to do active firefighting. At least that's what it's kind of what it's been explained to.
Yeah, it's going to be they're going to have different levels, classifications, I believe, 1 through 4. Am I correct on that?
So that we won't have all 25 in full turnouts.
Right, a 4 would be able to do actual fire suppression activity. We would have them trained to that rate. I think with the program, when you're talking about initial investment, the difference with volunteers versus full-time paid people is when they leave, we're keeping the gear. So, you know, the gear can get used and handed down. This is not like where we tend not to do that with the paid personnel, just
Right.
It's the way it works. So, and I think we can cobble stuff that we already have together. But they had to have a number in there, and so they put the largest number in that they would have if they had to go out and completely outfit them. And we have to stay within the confines of OSHA and that.
Sure. And I guess my question would be is, could we spend $91,000 on the full-timers, put $91,000 worth of new equipment in there, and let our reserves take some of the equipment that's still good and still useful and still safe, but give the full-timers some of that new stuff who are actually going to be out there on the front lines fighting those fires and so on and so forth, until the day comes where maybe you have this program, which you've already said, you know, is going to grow. And then a year or two from now, we might say, hey, you know, these people are doing this function at such a level that we do need to spend $100,000 or $90,000 on new turnouts or new equipment that we can't get from the full-time rank and file as they turn those pieces of equipment out. So those are just some, because if you look, that just the turnout or the equipment PPE represents about 50% of the total cost.
Yeah, and I will say, this is part of the issue with volunteers in America, and why you see the volunteer fire service starting to deteriorate across the country. contrary to what people would like, is that they have to receive, and Director Gould, you pointed out, they got to receive the same training that full-time paid professional firefighters have, and they have to have that equipment. And so what I would tell you is that we will keep as the fire chief, will keep in mind the issue and focus on Sacramento first, our district first, Sacramento second. And in regards to the expenses, in regards to gear, we will make every endeavor to attempt to maximize the equipment we already have and watch our dollar, and we try to do that on a regular basis as well.
With all of those caveats and the questions answered, I'm prepared to make a motion we approve.
Director Pearson?
Since we're talking about PPEs, I had a question on that. Director Gould brought up the point of handing down turnouts. Are these turnouts going to be the same specs as the full, so on scene there would be no way to differentiate between a reserve firefighter and a full-time firefighter? Because when things get going, maybe somebody's going to grab them and say, come here, with me, let's go do something, and I just
Yeah,
don't
there'll
know.
be clear identification for the reserve firefighter so that we won't have that opportunity.
All right.
I think
Like
this
a
is
name badge, but like, let's say, we all have, all the full-time firefighters are in black turnouts. They're gonna have black turnouts too, or are they gonna have the brown turnouts, and it's with
Right.
just a name badge is gonna be the,
It'll be our same spec that all of our firefighters wear, so the colors will be the same, but we'll be able to put reserve firefighter on there, and then also in their helmets, we talked about putting a different color in their helmets or different colored helmets totally, so that you'll be able to easily identify them.
okay, thank you.
For-
I'll second if somebody hasn't seconded it.
I have a motion from Director Gould and a second from Director Pearson. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think this is a great pathway. I'm very supportive when we can open up pathways for young men and young women who want to get into this business. I think this is an exceptional process for them. Obviously, I'll track it closely to ensure that we're getting those pockets of people that don't have any other avenue to get into this business. And this is a great way to do it when we can get in there and tell them, we're hooking you when you're in the 8th grade, and you're going to be a Metro employee at some point in the future. It's an awesome idea, and we need to do more of it, frankly. It's just, as we start small, I'm glad to hear the chief talking about, let's capture the young men and women in Metro Fire District, and then if we can't fill that bucket, which I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to, we can move into the community outside of that. And so I appreciate that capitulation. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, if you will call the roll.
Directors Monk,
Aye.
Wood, Gould,
Aye.
Clark, Pearson,
Aye.
Orzali.
Aye.
Motion passes with Directors Scheidegger, Jones, and Kelly absent.
Moving on to item 2, the single role paramedic program.
Good evening, Board of Directors, Chief Hinkie, Scott Clough, Assistant Chief, EMS Division. As you know, March 1st, 2013, the district implemented our single-role paramedic program. At the time that we implemented the program, we were authorized to carry 52 full-time employees and a total of 15 part-time employees. As the program moved forward, we identified 2 problems that we wanted to address. One was that the part-time employees were not receiving enough work hours to keep them engaged with the organization. The second issue that we wanted to try to resolve was the impact and high call volume on the fire-based medics in the Fulton Avenue corridor. As a way to bridge that gap, the district chose to staff the in-service reserve medic 101 on a full-time basis with the part-time employees. As the program matured, what we found is that through attrition, with single role employees going to both fire positions inside the organization as well as outside of the organization, we found that we're now carrying exactly 52 employees on the roster. However, 8 of those individuals still are maintained as part-time employees because the PAD doesn't authorize them to be counted at this time. As a result, the individuals are engaged, they're doing an outstanding job, and this program seems to have stabilized, and we feel that we can adequately maintain the program with 52 positions and not maintain a part-time force. The recommendation before you tonight is that we remove the position of part-time employees. We transitioned the pad to reflect 52 full-time positions. However, we'd like to add an additional 6 positions, 3 positions on A shift, 3 positions on B shift, for a total of 58 positions. We feel that with those numbers that we'll be able to maintain the program, and we'll be able to do it at very minimal cost to the district. At this time, we average about 48 hours per day in overtime vacancies. Based upon the single role employee's hourly rate, 365 days a year, that's roughly $525,130 by, give or take a few cents, Director Gould. However, if we bring over 6 additional full-time employees, the cost of the district will increase to about $530,000. The net cost of the organization would be roughly $4,500 and change. But for that $4,500 and change, we'll be able to take a small group of individuals that are essentially functioning as full-time employees but not enjoying the benefits of a full-time employee. We feel it's in the best interest of the organization as well as our employees, and the recommendation tonight is that you approve the change in the pad. I'm available for any questions.
I make a motion, we adopt.
I have a motion from Director Gould, second from Director Clark. Any further discussion?
You know,
You said 58 employees
Yes, sir.
for the 3 shifts?
Well, the single roles actually function on 2 shifts, A shift and B shift, and they have 2 platoons, a day platoon and a night platoon. So there's 3 for the A shift, 3 for the B shift. There is no C shift. And the fire service is better off for that.
What we're doing with them. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have Chief Clough, I just want to thank you for recognizing, and I'm sure it's the entire administration, for recognizing the value of transitioning these functionally full-time employees to actual full-time. I think you're right on the head there with the idea of we need to engage these people, and by just making this conversion, we engage them. I'm sure that transitions out into the ambulance and the way they deal with our customer base, so on and so forth. And so I think it's really a wise idea to start looking at committing at this level. I'm appreciative of it. I think that's a great policy. Thank you very much.
No further discussion. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll.
Director Monk?
Aye.
Wood?
Aye.
Gould?
Aye.
Clark? Pearson?
Aye.
And Orzali.
Aye.
Motion passes with Directors Scheidegger, Jones, and Kelly absent.
Moving on to item 3.
Mr. President, I'll go ahead and open up with a few pointed comments before Deputy Chief Holbrook does a presentation on this. On this item, in full transparency, we are coming back to the Board of Directors and asking to approve a contract that expired March 31st of last year. As you are all well aware, we budgeted monies last year to expend for a professional services agreement in regards to parcels and parcel sizes, and we've been dealing with looking at different methodologies for potential revenue ideas in regards to the 210,000 parcels that we currently cover in the district. And as we moved forward on that process around February or March of this year, as General Counsel won't hit me, but as lawyers tend to do on occasion, we got a pretty good curveball or knuckleball thrown at us in regards to a methodology that we were doing. And at that point, myself and staff dove right into the weeds to try to figure out how we address that issue. And the bottom line is, and it's my full responsibility, I bear the responsibility for this, we did not get the contract renewed. The work continued. We continue to do the work. And on 2 sides of the issue, the contractor didn't invoice us even for last fiscal year towards the end for 2 or 3 months or whatever it should have been, and clearly not into this year. This was brought to my attention approximately 3 weeks ago. And so the intention tonight is twofold, is a mea culpa. I alone am responsible for this snafu. It is not my intention to come to the Board of Directors with a contract that's expired by several months. That's not the right way to do business, and I was wrong in allowing that to occur. So I can assure you two things in regards to that issue. It won't happen again, and to ensure that it doesn't happen again, as we go into our new records management system, we actually will have a system whereby when contracts expire, the flag goes up and says you have to deal with them. But in all fairness and candor, I'm not so sure we still wouldn't have made the mistake, because I think we got too far down in the weeds. And so it's a valuable learning lesson. But the material that we utilized has helped us in our WUI grants and everything else. So it's not work that was not necessary. It was extremely necessary to do. So I can assure you that I alone am responsible for that, and that it will not happen again. With that, we're recommending the contract be fulfilled tonight to pay the vendors and everything for the work that was done, and then move forward from that point of view. So with that, I would turn it over to Deputy Chief Holbrook.
Thank you. Chris Holbrook, Deputy Chief of Operations for Metro Fire. And actually, with that presentation, I'm going to be very brief, but I do want to draw a couple of items to your attention. It was this afternoon that we found a typographical error in the original contract in your packet, and we placed a new contract in your packet that you received this evening. So I wanted to make sure that you noticed that. The total cost for this, then, is no longer $568,000. In fact, it's $562,000. It's in fact $520,000. We noticed a $42,000 error in the math today. With that, as Chief Finke had mentioned, about 3 weeks ago, we noticed an overlap of contract, immediately got an update from the vendor, and are bringing that for you for consideration tonight. With that, and I will be brief, I do believe that while I appreciate my boss shouldering the responsibility, there's not one of us that will shy away from the fact that stand before you in all transparency, stand before the public and tell you that it was our oversight, and it will not happen again. So I appreciate him taking the blame, but in fact, we all shoulder that. So with that, staff recommends a modification to a professional services contract with Capital Connections for the amount of $520,250.
So move.
Director Wood?
Chief, these amounts have already been included in the budget for the year just passed and the current year, correct?
Yeah, we already had set money aside in last year's budget and in this year's budget, so it's covered.
So there's nothing new in this?
Correct.
I think it's also, with that motion, I'd like to say, I think it's also important to reemphasize the idea that a lot of the work that was done during this period that's been addressed, a lot of the data that was collected has already been utilized by this district to garner additional revenue or grants. And I think for the public, and it seems like transparency is a word we're using a lot tonight, and that's a good thing, but it's not as if a bunch of work was done and we're never going to use that, or it was never going to be used, and oh geez, too bad. All that data coming in was repurposed. Even though we're not at the end of this particular mission, the data that was being collected was repurposed for another project that was successful to the tune of almost $1 million. And so I think it's important for the public to understand, while we have some chiefs up here, falling on the sword a little bit tonight, it wasn't as if we expended a bunch of money, we got nothing out of it, and geez, we're sorry, we won't. We actually benefited quite significantly, and not only the district, but the community at large. That grant's going to have major impact on the safety of the people in our district, and I think that's an important part of this piece as well. Now, this is a contract; it's paper. We'll figure that stuff out. The new records management will obviously help us in that regard. But our men and women are working their backsides off, and these kinds of details are going to fall through when we are asking, and they're doing so much with so little time. So and so I appreciate it. That's why I made the motion. I appreciate a second.
Second.
Appreciate you, Dave.
I have a second from Director Pearson. Seeing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll.
Director Monk?
Aye.
Wood?
Aye.
Gould?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Pearson?
Aye.
And Orzali?
Aye.
Motion passes with Directors Scheidegger, Jones, and Kelly absent.
Moving on then to item 4, contract amendments, McClellan Airport, Aircraft Rescue, and Firefighting Services. Chief Hinkie?
Yes, Mr. President, Board of Directors, this is to execute an extension of the current ARF contract. We had one-year extension left on this ARF contract. As you recall, last fiscal year, there was a big concern. I met with the Coast Guard, I met with Larry Kelly from McClellan and Alan Hirsch in that park in regards, and the county, in regards to keeping the Coast Guard here. We dropped the revenue from them and their contract by about $150,000, and I believe the county shaved off about $300,000, or a number right in that ballpark. We have elected to keep that current for this year's contract extension that's before you. It's in the budget as is, so it will meet budget by getting that revenue. And then we will be, we've already started the initial discussions in regards to renewing the contract. They will probably do an RFP, would be my guess, to go out for airport aircraft services. And though I don't anticipate anybody being it would be very difficult for somebody to bid it because it's very expensive. We will compete in that process. We did last time in an open bid, and we were the only successful bidder. Yeah. We were the only responsive bidder, actually. So that is going to happen, and by the time this expires, in another year from now, then we will hopefully have, hopefully sooner rather than later, have something in place. We've even proposed to them a modified staffing plan. We did that several months ago. Chief Holbrook and his staff put together a modified staffing plan so that we could get it to DC, have them take a look at it and see if there's any will amongst the Coast Guard to brass to maybe reevaluate and bring into line their air crash requirements more in line with the rest of the military, which would save them some money. So we're working very closely with them, but tonight I recommend, I'm asking you to approve the one-year extension.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Director Woods and a second. Oh, I have a second from Director Wood, and I have a motion from Director Clark. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Director Monk?
Aye.
Wood?
Aye.
Gould?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Pearson?
Aye.
And Dorzali.
Aye.
Motion passes with Directors Scheidegger, Jones, and Kelly absent.
Moving then on to item 5, Provider Participation Agreement, Ground Emergency Medical Transport Services. Chief Clough.
Good evening, Board of Directors, Chief Hinkie, Scott Clough, Assistant Chief, EMS Division. As you know, several meetings ago, I brought forth some information concerning the GEMT, or the Ground Emergency Medical Transport Program, at which time we discussed our contracts for providing the services back and forth to the state. At this time, even though Metro played a key role in developing the program, we actually now have to enroll to be a participant in the program. What the program allows us to do is to collect the uncompensated cost of providing transport to Medi-Cal recipients pursuant to Welfare and Institutions Code 14105.94. This resolution required, what we're asking for is approval of the resolution to allow us to participate in this program.
So move.
Second.
I have a,
Well, you know, I mean, let's be honest. We're looking at groundbreaking,
Exactly.
stuff tonight. And so it's exciting to even be here when this kind of stuff is happening, because it's going to fundamentally change what goes on in ground transportation. And it's rock star stuff. So was I the first one? Did I get it?
yeah, you got it.
Nice.
Absolutely, yes. And I had a second from Director Clark. Okay,
Somebody
so
down there.
somebody down there, yeah. So any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll.
Director Monk?
Aye.
Wood?
Aye.
Gould?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Pearson?
Aye.
And Dorzali.
Aye.
Motion passes with Directors Scheidegger, Jones, and Kelly absent.
Moving on to item 6, the election to the Sacramento Local Agency Formation Commission.
Now, do we have to actually put a motion forward that nominates? Well, I think we should probably nominate the most capable, and that'd be Gay Jones.
Office number 7.
That's just my suggestion. Do I have to do that in
Yeah,
a motion?
absolutely.
Does this require a
He's
formal?
incumbent.
Yeah. I
Okay.
think so.
So I have a nomination for Gay Jones.
Director Orzali, it's also a motion to nominate and to vote upon. So you'll be
Thank
actually
you.
casting the ballot, so the motion should include both of those actions.
Council, is that two separate actions?
You can do them as part of the one item.
Okay?
Okay.
So then the motion is to nominate, and in that nomination, we have a recommendation for Director Gay Jones
Nominate and elect.
and elect. Okay, do I have a second?
Yes.
I have a second from Director Pearson. Further discussion? Seeing none. Madam Chair, or Clerk, if you'll call the roll.
Director Monk?
Aye.
Wood?
Aye.
Gould?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Pearson?
Aye.
And Orzali?
Aye.
Motion passes with Directors Scheidegger, Jones, and Kelly absent.
Okay.
And have one more. You've got to vote for the alternate.
I think we discussed it last time, and the alternate, unless we had a name, we weren't gonna do another alternate from this body, because it gummed up the process, is what Director
Well,
Jones was saying.
I don't think he can, because I don't think we have a candidate as
Yeah.
an alternate, right?
Well, for the record, the vote that was last taken is for action item 6A, which was to nominate and to cast the ballot on behalf of Gay Jones.
Correct.
Also before you, under subpart B, is to cast a ballot for an alternate. There is on the ballot persons who are running for that alternate position. So the board, if it wishes, can vote to cast the ballot for one of those persons or decide to take no action with respect to the alternate position.
Can we table it to next? I would like to ask Gay, I mean, she sits on the board, I don't know if she would have a recommendation or not.
We had some discussion at the last meeting about that, and there were some issues that if she, as the elected A party, and a B was filling in for somebody that was absent, would that create a problem on votes and things on the board at the time? And at that time, I backed out.
Let me make it easy. I'm going to stay no matter what.
Yeah, I don't have enough information
Nice.
about the
Nice.
vote.
There, we don't have a vote.
We don't have 5. We can't move.
That's right, we don't have a vote.
John's like, what'd he just do?
But that person's not on the ballot.
Right.
Yeah, you're limited to voting who's on the
On the
ballot.
ballot, right. That's
So
why I'm gonna
Last
abstain.
session, we talked about potentials from this board.
Right.
To be on the alternate.
But they're not on the ballot.
But they're not on the ballot.
Okay.
So you either have to vote to cast the ballot for one of the persons that are running, or vote not to do so.
Yeah.
Motion we
And-
not vote on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna vote to abstain.
Okay, now, is that, is
Which
that?
means
is
it's
that
dead, so we
It's
can move
dead,
on.
so,
It's dead issue.
so with that, council, do we need to do something else since we have one stated abstention?
Well, if there's no motion to cast the ballot, then there's no vote taken upon it, so there's no action taken by the board as a
Fine.
matter of
That's what
record.
was my hope.
Fine.
There you go.
Second
Second
my
your
abstention. Okay,
substantial.
good. All right.
We have no closed session item, is that correct?
Yes,
We have one.
Yeah, yes,
Well, we do.
yes.
Okay,
We could
We
finish.
could finish,
Let's
I mean, it's
go through the rest of the meeting.
just really
and then-
for us.
Don't have an
Okay.
attorney, so,
okay. So, then.
well, we have an attorney, but not an outside attorney.
Okay, that's fine.
Wow.
It's not gonna cost.
Now that we pretty well understand your feelings about council,
I didn't mean it that way.
so are you now recommending that we replace council? Is that what?
No, I'm not.
Oh.
No, no, no.
But that's not properly
We
on
have
the
our
agenda before the
resident-
board,
We have our
so
resident attorney
my advice
present.
would be that you cannot take action on that
Yeah, I just,
recommendation.
I'm talking about a traveler coming in.
So then, moving on then to the president's report. And with the president absent, there will be no president's report. Chief Hinkie?
Yes, President Orzali, Board of Directors, first off, order of business, starting this Saturday through the 27th of this month, I will be out of state. Chief Holbrook will be, Deputy Chief Holbrook will be the acting fire chief. I will be on my annual environmental management sabbatical to the state of Wyoming, where I understand they have quite a pest problem.
Wow, that's a new
Sounds a little squirrely to me.
I'd like to say that on October 1st, attended the Cal Fire Chiefs Association monthly board conference call. We're continuing to move forward on GEMT and a bunch of different issues. Also, kind of a neat deal, I was asked by the Secretary of Cal OES to sit on the State Threat Assessment System Advisory Committee for the state of California, which includes about 15 different agencies, both federal and state, CHP and that. I'll be unable to attend that meeting while I'm gone. However, Fire Chief Mark Hartwig from San Bernardino County will be attending for me for that one meeting. They meet, I think, on a quarterly basis. On the 5th, I attended the 11th Annual California Firefighter Memorial Ceremony. It was a great event, as always, and, very, very sad, but at the same time, they absolutely show the families the support and the empathy that they deserve for the loss of one of their loved ones. Unfortunately, that wall continues to get very, very full of names every year. Also, I was unable to attend the 3rd Annual Carolyn Martinez Foundation Golf Tournament, although some of the deputies did. I did have a T sign out there. So we're very happy that apparently they did pretty good in raising some revenue for the fight against breast cancer. We're very happy about that. Also on the 5th and 6th was the California Capitol Air Show, which we heavily were involved in, although I was unable to make it out there. It was a good event. On the 9th, we had the Fire Scope meeting yesterday. Then on the 10th, today we had the League of Cities, and of course today was the Battle of the Battalions, Wood Creek Golf Club, of course did not attend that. Upcoming meetings and events on the 12th is 24th Annual Firefighter Memorial Program at the Exempt Fireman's Plot, 10th and Broadway. I don't know if any of my staff can be there. I responded that I would be unable to be there. I had spoke at it one time. They asked me to be a guest speaker. It's a great event. It's got the old fireman's plot there where they've got people buried from the 1800s and that in there, and it really is a quaint event to go to. The November 4th through the 7th, we'll be attending the California Joint Apprenticeship Biennial Conference in Southern California, which is our training symposium they hold every 2 years in regards to the JAC and what's going on. Save the following date, especially for the directors, on the 31st, groundbreaking ceremony at Zinfandel Training Site for the USAR props. It'll be Metro, the Secretary of Cal OES, and the City of Sacramento. But clearly it's Metro Fire's 53 acres. We leased them 8.5 and we're running the project, so I'm pretty proud. And they are moving dirt and digging footings out there. They are going to beat the band to try to beat the weather and get the stuff coming up out of the ground.
Sorry, what date was that again?
That would be the 31st, and you can wear a mask if you want.
Oh.
Is there a time chief?
Towards me, I should wear them?
No, any of us. It's Halloween.
I thought you were.
Is there a time chief?
Dean Baker Crab Feed is on the 23rd. More information, that's on November 23rd. New hires, we hired an accounting technician in finance, Renee Falls. Again, this isn't a new hire. We're replacing people as they go. No reinstatements, no reassignments. Retirements, accounting supervisor Debbie Kelly retired after 26 years of service. Engineer Richard Hohen, 26 years of service, and Captain Harold Gardner, 24 years of service. Also, happy to announce that on October 1st, appointed Larry Savage to the Assistant Chief's position in charge of the B shift, and we welcome him aboard. We also appointed Battalion Chief Forrest Rao to Battalion Chief's position, and Scott Perryman to Fire Captain. With that, I would just conclude my remarks by saying that staff has been working, not myself, of course, but the staff under me has been putting a lot of long hours in, and we are stretched to the point of breaking. We are surging a captain. I've talked to each of you and briefed you, everybody that was able to get back to me. As you know, we're putting a captain, we're surging an additional captain into the EMS division. This is a $30 million arm of the fire department, and we're going to do that at least through the first of the year, and then we'll come back and probably do an adjustment in the pad. But with Chief Clough basically now negotiating over HMO and first responder, which is the whole rest of the enchilada and stuff, there's not enough hours in a day or a week, and it's every division, human resources, finance. I mean, now we've got the auditors in here and all that stuff, and so, you know, I just want the board of directors to know that these people are working these 12, 14, 16-hour days, and they're doing it 6 and 7 days a week, and just in full transparency, I think the public needs to know that, and so, you know, my hat's off to each and every one of them. And they're doing a great job, and we'll just keep continuing to grind away at it. With that, that concludes my remarks.
Chief, is there a time for the events on 10/31?
Oh, yes, thank you. There is. It's at 11:30 to 1 o'clock. That's probably because they have governor's appointees and stuff coming, so, you know, they gotta have extra time. I'm just kidding. But it starts at 11:30 to 1 o'clock.
Thank you, Chief. General Counsel's report.
No report this evening.
Thank you, Counsel. Firefighters Local 522 report.
You want to have the deputy chief talk first?
That's a good idea.
I'm glad to give you the operations
Thank
report.
you.
I do not think that Local 522 really wants me to represent him.
I'm sure that's true.
Relative to operations, since our last board meeting, there have been 2,600 EMS dispatches for Metro Fire, and we've transported at a rate of 74.5%. That is actually a very good transport rate. Not quite as good as our partner, AMR, who had 8 dispatches and 8 transports for a rate of 100%. So try to keep up with Jennifer. The number of transports, I kind of give you an idea of what it is that we do each time. Really, we come in waves, and we're on a lull right now. There's a high summer wave, and we kind of calm down until flu season starts. So you'll see that number go up over time, and then it'll ebb as flu season ends late next spring. On the note of flu season, while it is not anticipated to be a pandemic, the type of flu that's coming this year is about as nasty as they come, and so the district has already started offering flu shots to employees. I would encourage you to get yours as well. We've had 11 structure fires since our last board meeting, 11 working structure fires, and believe it or not, we still have 2 people deployed on the rim fire up in Alpha Highway 120. We anticipate them to be back about the 14th, or once about a foot of snow sits down on the hill. A couple of incidents, and I hope that each of you got a chance to see the new Sprinter medics out in front tonight on your way in. 4 of those were placed into service. There's some remarkable benefits for vehicles like that, i.e. half of the fuel cost that our normal box vans run. And that's, you'll be seeing more of those as time goes on. We've had quite a few incidents of, well, to be honest, flat out arson. We lost a Little League shack out in Antelope, burned into a school. We are asking that members of the public, if you have any information relative to this incident, we would like you to call the arson tip line, and that number is 859-3775. It is appreciated that anybody with any information, please reach out to us. And finally, it is NFPA's our Fire Prevention Week, and the theme this year is Prevent Kitchen Fires. I am sorry to tell you that unfortunately yesterday, we had a kitchen fire in the Arden Arcade area, which is the most common type of home fire. Red Cross was able to assist Metro Fire in housing 2 adults and 1 child who were displaced. With the loss of $50,000 in the home, I am happy to report, though, that over $200,000 in contents and belongings were saved. So hats off to the ladies and gentlemen of Metro Fire, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Chief, that number was, is that area code 916 for the public?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Area code 916,
Right.
859-3775.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
One other quick
Yes,
question.
sir.
You know, off the top of your head, are our calls trending up over last year, or are we kind of even or
No,
going down?
calls are definitely trending up. Yes, and I can certainly pull some statistics for the next board meeting just to give you a snapshot. It's always just a snapshot, but we are doing, there's a proverbial statement of doing more with less. We still have engine companies closed, and those that are open are running more calls every day.
Yeah, I wanted to,
Yes,
that was my next point, is that we've closed several and the calls continue to go up, right?
correct.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Just to be clear, well, moving on to the report from firefighters Local 522. There's
Good evening, Directors, Chief Hinkie. I'm John Barsdale, Director of Local 522. Only got 2 items tonight to report out on. The local has created a committee for the LOU for the single roles to kind of address some of the stuff that we're working through on the contract side of it, along with the district. We're also, and that's for the SRPs. The other item that I would like to, and to blend the LOU with the Local 522 contract in 2015. The other item that I'd like to report out on is to invite you all to our holiday open house that's going to occur on Wednesday and Thursday of December 10th and 11th from 1,500 to 1,900 hours at the Firefighters Burn Institute located at 3101 Stockton Boulevard. And that's all I have. If you guys have any questions, I'll take any.
Would you be so kind as to repeat that
Yeah, you
information,
went a
please?
little
Oh, I'm
fast.
sorry, fast.
It's going to be Wednesday and Thursday of December 10th and 11th from 1,500 hours to 1,900 hours at the Firefighter Burn Institute located at 3101 Stockton Boulevard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Committee and delegates report. The executive committee, seeing that Director Kelly is not here, we'll move on to Communications JPA. Thank you. And the California Fire and Rescue Training JPA, we'll move on from that. Finance, seeing that Director Scheidegger is not here, we'll move to the Policy Committee with Director Pearson.
We did not meet and no meetings are scheduled.
Thank you. We have a closed session item. So do we want to move through the closed session and then do board members' comments?
I say you close this up, and then we go in and let all these people go home.
Makes sense to me. Any other thoughts? All right. So moving then into closed session, moving into the board members' questions and comments. And we'll begin. Nothing for you? Director Wood?
I just want to say 2 things. One, I got to meet with the members of the Mather Community Association last week, and their biggest issue continues to be response times. They sit, as does my house, in between service from either 55, 62, or 66, and so that's the one issue that keeps coming up. And I did remind them, let them know that that is an issue that's always on our discussion, always on the table. Otherwise, a bunch of great people, very pleasant, and had nothing but positive things to say about the district. Second, Brenda, I apologize, I can never remember the name of the captain that worked with you, but I can't say enough good things about fire camp for my son who went, and it looks like we have 2 letters here from members of the community whose kids also went and had very, very great times. So it's wonderful to see that, and I'm really excited that we have supported that, and hopefully we'll continue to. And I'm sorry I'm not as eloquent as Director Gold, but I'll pass to him now.
What happened?
You were just elected.
Oh, was I?
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Your comments?
Ditto on fire camp. It's always nice to come to the dais and have letters that are presented to us from community members talking about the wonderful work that the men and women do in that regard. It's a really great opportunity for the community. Also, I'd like to ask, it's my understanding that annually we send some members of our organization to the National Fallen Firefighters Memorial.
We send them to the Colorado Springs Firefighter Memorial.
That's
I don't
like the
believe
national one, or?
I don't think so. I think that's the IAFF Firefighters
Okay.
Memorial. Go ahead.
I'm just wondering if we could get just a quick presentation on those visits so that we can kind of get a sense of what that's about. It's been talked about several times about how inspiring it is and what kind of an event it is. I think it's not only good for the directors, but also the community to see what's there and kind of what's going on. So if there was anything that could be presented, I think just something simple and short, but just to give us a sense of why that's such an important thing that we send men and women to that come from this organization.
Yeah, and I believe Chief Cockrum attended and Chief Wells. So I'll talk to Chief Cockrum because I know he shoots sometimes some video of the practices and stuff, and maybe we can show a little bit of what goes on.
And he's better looking than Wells anyway. And then, right? Well, Cockrum's shaking his
Virtually
head,
ev-
right? He knew, he was saying that.
Virtually everyone is.
And then, no, that's low. And then finally, I just want to challenge my colleagues at this level that we get back to the days of having presentation items on content that's coming before this board. We seem to have, over the last several months, slipped away from having items come before the board as a presentation item, go through a lot of the conversations that we did tonight in presentations so that the men and women presenting those ideas can go back in and incorporate what their policymaking body thinks and some ideas that we represent from the community, then come back as action items to be agendized and voted on. So I've seen a trend over the last several months where we have the big goose egg for presentation items, but our action items are fairly full on occasion. And I think we need to get back to that because that's really the process that we agree to in our board policies, is that's how items are going to get through, with a caveat that obviously if the chief and his staff decide that something is of extreme nature, we have the opportunity to bypass that process. But I think it's important that we do that in the effort of transparency to the community so they get to see an item twice on our agenda before we vote on it. So, and that's no challenge to the men and women that are doing the job, as the chiefs articulated, already working 18-hour days. It's really more on us as elected officials to ensure that occurs. So I challenge us to make that happen. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Gould. And so, Director Clark?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank the men and women of this organization for all the hard work you're doing. I understand this work in 12 hours a day and 7 days a week. It's very stressful, and it's well appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Director Pearson?
Yeah, I had the opportunity last few weeks to spend some time with quite a few different people from the organization. And again, I just can't say thanks enough and for their professionalism and what they give to the community. And I think Director Woods said it, the community's out there concerned about their response times. They do care what we do. And, Chief Holbrook said it, we're doing more with less. And we keep saying that, but really it comes down to we're doing less with less. We really are. Because our response times are longer. We're overworking the men and women out there. And eventually, we're going to get to this breaking point. Like right now, he just said, on the one structure fire alone, because of their hard work and their quick response, we were able to save $200,000. Response times get longer and longer. We're not going to be able to do that. And I know the chiefs are concerned about the safety of the men and women out there, that they're putting in harm's way. They don't like to do that. But eventually, we're gonna need to, look at putting some more engines on somehow, some trucks. And I know money doesn't grow on trees, but, you know, and I know the chief is concerned about that. I know the whole staff is concerned about that. And, you know, Larry's done his part. The EMS is doing their part. GEMT, I mean, everybody's going out there and we're making the dollars stretch. But hopefully we can eventually stretch some dollars and get some companies back on. And I think the public needs to be made aware of that just because we're doing such a good job, you know, it's kind of like a duck on the water. That's what you look at the whole membership out there, and that's what they all are. They look really calm because they're going to show up to your house. They're going to be professional. They're going to do their job. But really, when it comes down to it, they're overworked. They're not getting there as quick as they'd like to. And I can tell you from experience, it's very stressful when you're responding to a neighboring district because that engine company's tied up on a call and you're responding and you know it's a critical call. There's nothing you can do. You can only drive so fast. And it's very hard to be sitting in that engine just driving and driving, waiting to get to this call that you know is a critical call. And I mean, it adds a lot of stress to the members. So I just wanted to say again, thanks to the members of our department for their professionalism, even though we're asking them to do so much with so little. And I think the public, somehow we need to get that message out, because you ask the public, they're going to say they love their fire department. And their fire department's doing a great job. And that they're not going to complain because they are doing a great job, but it's up to us as the policymakers to say, yeah, they're doing a great job, but they could do better with more people, and we need to support them with more people eventually. So I'll get off my soapbox. I know we all know that. I just wanted to point it out. Maybe the public, the 2 or 3 people that watch this on TV, they'll get the picture. Thanks.
Thank you. I would add just one thing to that. I got a telephone call this afternoon from a community member who was in the emergency room waiting for her husband to get some medical treatment. And I was called because she said, you know, Randy, I just wanted you to know I've been watching the Sac Metro guys come back and forth into the emergency room. Said, I had no idea how hard those guys work. And they were there for 5 hours. And she called me back and said, I see the same guys over and over again. And I said, yeah, it's kind of the way it works. So thanks for all of that. And with that, Council, I have a question. We've now completed that business. And in the spirit of what Director Gould said, letting these folks go home, but we have the closed session item. So technically, can we close this meeting and then do that item?
No, you have to, the closed session is part of the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Exactly.
You can adjourn after we report out of closed session.
That's fine. Then, with that said, we will adjourn to closed session.
It's a nice way to say go home. Exactly. We're the only ones that need to stay. I'll leave all this here because it's closed. We're good.